Hello and welcome to Talking Show. Obviously, you're already listening to the show, and this is a new feature for us because we've got an interview live on the show. So, all the way from Brazil, and I really want to thank him for his time, is Gerson Barbosa. And basically, we've got him on, and I hope I've not murdered his name there, to have a little chat about the latest name to be linked with Leeds United. And it came from a little bit of a left field one here in 22-year-old Brazilian striker, Arthur Cabral. I don't think I've murdered his name, Gerson, have I?
Yeah, cara. How are you?
Yeah,
So
good,
it's
mate.
a pleasure to be here in your podcast. Of course, I will listen more when not only this episode, but more to understand more about Leeds. So Arthur Cabral, as you can tell, Arthur Cabral. So it's a really great guy, really great striker, strong striker. He can protect the ball. So he's a really good guy, and it will be a pleasure for me to talk about him here in the podcast.
So, with regards to Arthur, he's only just signed sort of permanently with Basel. So, how much of a surprise is it to see him linked with Leeds United?
Actually, not much. We actually thought of him as a really good guy for Europe football. So he did really great there in Switzerland. He was on loan from Palmeiras, and then they have the option to buy or the mandatory buy if he reached some goals, which he did. It was 12 goals and 21 matches, which he did. He surpassed that a lot. So they bought him as mandatory for the clauses, and we actually think that he was already linked to RB Salzburg from Austria, and we actually thought that he was not. We talked to some Switzerland journalists, and they said to us that he was not going to be there for this season. He will be out. Actually, it was a great deal for Basel to buy him now, so they can sell him and get the money because they bought him for 4 million euros, which Leeds is trying to buy him for 18 million. So it's a lot, the difference. So we actually think that he's not going to be there for this season. Even if it's not Leeds, we think that we actually have the understanding that he has other options. He had other teams looking for him in Germany as well. So not only Austria, but Germany too. And we think that he's not going to be in Basel this season. So is the people here there in Switzerland. So it's not much a surprise. We actually already knew that he was going to be out. And it's really good for us to see that a Premier League team is trying to buy him because he's a really good guy. He can play very well. And he's a really great person. So we actually, we lived with him here. He played for Ceará, which is the club who revealed him to the football for 2 years in the professional football, but a lot more in the youth. So we know him really well, and he's a really great guy. It's really good to see that people from great clubs in Europe are trying to buy him.
So, yes, I'm just talking then about the news of Leeds being interested, potentially having bid. Over here in the UK, we're using Google Translate a lot for some Brazilian articles. It's not really broken in the English press over here. Sort of what is the press in Brazil saying potentially about this deal?
So we have contact with his manager. So he told us that the Leeds made an offer for Basel for 15 million euros plus 3 for performance. So that's is what we know, and we have the understanding that other teams, other clubs in Europe are too trying to buy him. We knew that Rennes from France, before Basel even buy him, before even he reached the goals that Basel said to him. Rennes was trying to buy him. So there's other teams who tried to buy him. And here we have the understanding that Leeds made a 15 million euro proposal for Basel and a plus 3 for performance. He has a 20 million release clause. So we think that's a really good deal if Basel can accept that.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Leeds United is majority of this season, when obviously we won the league, we played with one striker in Patrick Bamford. To describe his level of play, strong, lone striker, links the play, runs the channels, works hard to press the defenders into mistakes. How would you compare, based off what I've just explained, to Cabral then coming into potentially Marcelo Bielsa's setup?
It's just like that. He's a really strong guy. His body size is really huge. So he can protect the ball really well. He can play with his back from the goal, with in front from the goal. He can work the channels. He can make plays. He gives a lot of assists too. So he can actually create plays, make plays. He protects the ball really well. He has a really strong right foot. So he finishes a lot with his right foot. Strongly. He had a good header as well. So he have a good header as well. So he's a really, as you can say, a complete forward. He really does everything. He can play on the wings. Of course, it's not really his thing. He plays center in the center of the field as a striker. So he's a really complete guy. He makes play, and I think that for whatever you just say, for what you just told me about Patrick Bamford, I think that's it's really quite the same. So it's a young guy who can learn a lot too. So he's a quick learner, as you can tell. So in his first year in Europe, he just went great, and I think that it's really quite the same, as you can tell.
Yeah, obviously we've got Marcelo Bielsa at the helm at the moment at Leeds, and to say that he's come into Leeds and took Leeds by storm would be an understatement. But one thing we know from now having Bielsa at the club for 2 years is how much he likes to work with young players and develop them into better players. And obviously Cabral only being 22 years of age, he also fits that bill as well. From his point of view, how much do you think he would potentially like to work with Marcelo Bielsa with his track record of making youngsters great players?
I think he would love that because we just interviewed him here in our newspaper, and he said that he has a dream to play in the Premier League, and he really said that he likes to being around intelligent guys like Bielsa. So I think it would be really good for him. And he's a guy that there's still things you need to know about Arthur other than football, about his person. He's a guy that if he goes to Leeds, he would try to leave the city. He would try to know the fans. He would try to know the club, the history of the club. He will live. He will feel the club. It's not just I'm there, I'm playing, and that's it. It's not. He would try to really feel the club and the city. So it's a really good thing because I think Bielsa does the same. So I think they two will, link. And the other thing you need to know is that he wants to evolve. He wants to learn. He listens a lot. So that's one thing that he said to us in his time in Europe, that it's really different. The Euros football from Brazilian's football is really different. Here we play really slow. It's more technical football. It's not really tactical. So in Europe, it's the opposite. And he adapted really well. He learned a lot, and he said to us. So I think that he's a quick learner, and he wants to evolve, which is really good for him. And having Bielsa, we actually think here that's probably the best move for him right now is to play for Bielsa.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must admit, after speaking to you, Essen, and watching quite a few YouTube clips, I'm quietly excited if the deal goes through and we see him come to Leeds. Leeds have talked about 4 big signings. Striker's definitely one that we need to sign after a little bit of a failed deal with Kevin Augustin last year from PSG. And another name that's been mentioned with Leeds is Michy Batshuayi. However, as time goes on and I look a little bit more at this deal that we've just talked about, I think that Arthur kind of fits that a little bit, probably better than Michy Batshuayi does as well.
And I agree. I know a lot of English football because I am a huge fan. That's actually because I know a lot about the English football as well, and from the English language as well. So I know a lot of these guys. So I understand. I watch English football. So Arthur is actually it will be really good for Leeds if he goes there. I think that not only just because of Bielsa, but because he will be playing the club which is in Premier League, the club which is a big club, a massive club. So I think that and it's a club that the fans really love. So it is really passionate, and he's a guy really passionate. So I think it will fit really great as you just told now.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a match made in heaven. So we'll have to wait and see with that. Ersan, thank you very much for your time. I realise you've just come off the TV over in Brazil, so really appreciate your time. Thanks very much, and keep in touch. And we'll keep an eye on Leeds United from Brazil. Maybe a Leeds United supporters club in Brazil.
It's really good, actually. There's a lot of Leeds supporters here in Brazil, but I really thank you for the opportunity, and I want to, apologize again for my English if it wasn't really good. So we don't practice a lot here in Brazil, but I think that's it did the job, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And I think listeners of the show will probably say that your English is better than mine with my strong Yorkshire twang. So a massive thanks, Son. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time, and we'll keep an eye on it. Thanks very much for joining us on Talking Shop.